I'm apparently recording. Roberta,
Wonderful.
you want to kick it off?
So we would like to welcome you to our junior coffee. We have Sarah Robinson, Pupil Services Counselor, and Matt Zavada, our new Assistant VP. Welcome. And they're going to kind of give us the important updates about junior year. There's a lot that goes on during junior year. And so they're going to give us what we need to know. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so much for having us. Mr. Zavada, do you want to speak first, or would you like me to kick off the presentation?
Sarah, go ahead. I will chime in a little bit afterwards maybe, but I think you have the bulk of it.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks so much for having us. It's a great opportunity for us to share information and communicate with parents. A little bit more information about what's important in the junior year and what are some key things that you need to know now as junior parents. And so we'll kick off the presentation. It's not letting me advance. There we go. So one key thing to keep in mind is that you are not alone in this process. Our counseling department is always here to support you and navigate school, academics, post-secondary plans, social emotional wellness. We know when our students are feeling good and they're connected and feeling competent, they're going to thrive in the classroom and in co-curricular activities. So do not ever hesitate to reach out to our team. And our counselors are always here to help. And there are a lot of people at Homestead that want to support your students. Counselors are a great way to connect first in terms of like, who do I go ask? And so feel free to reach out to us. Our student services department is joined by a school psychologist, Mary Beth Sesselman, also a social emotional coach, Terry Carr. And we also have a coordinator, director of academic and career planning for Ozaki Youth Apprenticeship and Careers, Mr. Matt Wolf. So we're really glad to have him in our school service department as well. So in terms of looking ahead, our college advising timeline, all of your students will be getting a folder when we meet with them in some small groups for juniors in the first week of December. But we do talk about a college advising timeline, and this will be in the resource folder that your students will bring home. But we always have this type of documents and resources in our counseling office. So if you're ever in the high school and want to swing by our counseling department, feel free to grab some of these resources when you stop in our office. We do feel that communication is really important with your students. We want to communicate with them more, asking reflective questions, learning about some of their interests, their passions, some of their career goals, having conversations. And sometimes we notice that they don't really want to talk too much, or they want to give yes, no answers. So the more that you can ask open-ended questions as far as like, tell me about something that you're learning in school, or tell me about something that you're enjoying this trimester, or tell me about how you work in small groups when you're in your classes, and open-ended conversations like that. We're doing that in our office, and we encourage that at home, just to allow students that opportunity to share their ideas, to reflect, to hear some of your stories and your pathway in terms of post-secondary plans, your career plans, how you navigated that entire process, but just having those conversations. We follow a model through Wisconsin DPI in terms of asking our students, who are you? So they're reflecting, who am I? What are my interests, my strengths, and my goals? How am I going to reach those goals? And what do I need those skills? How do I plan for that? And then go to reach those goals. And so we're always asking those reflective questions. Junior year will be an important time for college visits, whether that's in person or virtually, to learn more about colleges and universities that they may be interested in, have a chance to really narrow down that very broad pool right now that's probably existing in terms of like their interests, but then getting a chance to do some college visits, either online or in person. Junior year students will focus on taking the ACT. We do have hundreds of college representatives coming to Homestead campus. They're very interested in our students. They know that they're very well prepared for life after high school, whether that's a 2-year college, an apprenticeship, a 4-year college, the military, but we do have hundreds of college admissions representatives coming to Homestead. Students find out about who's coming in Naviance under a tab that's called What's New. And every week, our administrative assistants post every college who's visiting on our television screen. And they're also in announcements for students to come on down to our office and make those connections, hear a short presentation, and then ask questions. Like, for example, today we had Butler there, Seattle from Washington, and also UW-Milwaukee. But it's not uncommon for us to have 4 or 5 representatives in our office a day. So certainly juniors, and also keep that in mind for senior year, it's a very good way for our students to ask questions and get additional information. And we certainly encourage our students to use Navient Student as a resource in terms of exploring careers, colleges, all kinds of information for college as far as college majors, what they offer for social life, for research opportunities, for athletics, music programs, the average cost of those colleges. So all of that information in terms of college information is right on Naviance. Each one of your students has a personal account to Navient Student, and parents can also have access to Navient Student. So if you would like that information, just go ahead and reach out via email or phone to your child's school counselor, and we can connect you with that. Our department identifies some top priorities for junior year, just to kind of highlight the main things that they should be focusing on. Is that taking challenging courses and earning some strong grades. We still recognize that the #1 factor for colleges and universities across the country in an admissions decision is that transcript. That's an academic snapshot of who they are, the level of rigor they've taken, the depth and breadth of courses they've taken, whether that's in the arts, the humanities, engineering courses, math and science, world language, computer science, etc. So colleges are really looking at that transcript as a top indicator, and it really is the strongest indicator of their success in college. So that's a very important thing for them to keep an eye on. Prepare and take the ACT. Some of our students like to take it in December or February of their junior year, just as a practice to feel what that's going to be like and have that experience. We will be sharing information with our juniors as they did take the pre-ACT as a practice earlier this fall, and they'll be getting information rolled out by our Director of Counseling, Chris Bessler, and our principal, Mr. Ebert, sharing their pre-ACT scores, as well as some information about what's upcoming in the junior year and how they can prepare using Methodize as a tool to prepare more for the ACT. So I think it's really a healthy situation that the students had in the earlier this fall to take that pre-ACT. They're getting those results back now, and they're going to be able to identify areas for improvement. They're going to see their areas for strength, areas for growth, and be able to take action on that, which is important between now and middle of March when they'll take the ACT. I'll speak a little bit more because they will get a free test at Homestead, which is state mandated. We also encourage them to get involved in meaningful co-curricular activities. Colleges are also looking at that. As a general reminder there, they'd rather see quality over quantity. So they're looking for ways that students had meaningful interaction, some initiatives, some meaningful engagement, and really being actively involved rather than just a list of co-curricular activities that maybe they attended meetings. It is important though, just to keep 2 feet firmly planted in each trimester, one day at a time. Sometimes it can often feel like I don't know, I guess I'll call it like a little bit of a tsunami with this eagerness to, get overexcited about the post-secondary planning. And although we look forward to that in the process of planning for life after graduation, it's really important for us to ground students and remind them about being present every day, every week, those types of goals, enjoying life, having that wellness and that balance. They're in high school. They should be learning, having fun, developing relationships with their peers. We recognize too that they are gaining very strong skills for college and career, whether they're in music programs, drama programs, athletics programs, certainly robotics, debate, the business programs. And so all of those things are helping to build a lot of those skills for post-secondary plans. So in a nutshell, focus on classes, the ACT, and then getting involved in things. Doesn't have to just only be at Homestead too. So in the community, volunteering, working, those types of things are also meaningful. I mentioned earlier, we will have some small group junior meetings. We met individually with sophomores last year, got a chance to know them, and that was very important. We'll continue building those relationships. We want to be part of that college and career exploration and that planning process, certainly in the application process right now. We're supporting 343 seniors as they are applying to college right now. That'll be your students next year at this time. So we want to meet with them. There's a lot of our information that can be shared with them in some small groups. We'll do that in December in about groups of 30. We will also have an opportunity for them to meet individually with their school counselor to talk about several key things. How are things going now? So what's going well? What do you need help with? Also taking a look at selecting senior courses. So course registration will kind of align with that in December and January. Those conversations about next classes to take in an area that you're interested in, whatnot, meeting graduation requirements, of course, but then also supporting them in post-secondary planning. If I'm interested in being a physical therapist, making sure that I've taken the class for anatomy and maybe AP bio, courses like that to support their post-secondary planning. So we'll meet with them that first week in December. Juniors will also get a resource folder. There'll be lots of information in that folder. I mentioned earlier about the college advising timeline. We also give the junior students a college planning guide, and this is also available online. There's information in the resource folder about the ACT and dates that they could take the ACT, as well as strategies, and then also using Methodize. So we guide them through different stations in the small groups with 4 important areas that we want to support them with moving forward in the early part of December. They will have a chance to explore careers in colleges. We teach them really how to use Naviance and how to utilize valuable, relevant websites to gain information for college information, such as CTCL for collegesatchangelives.org, also campusreal.org, and campustours.com. We help each junior create a Methodize account in their Naviance account that will allow them to have an individual portal to prepare for the ACT in Methodize. They'll have a chance to practice for English, math, reading, science. There's also 2 free practice tests in the Methodize account. And they also have a resource folder with tips and strategies to get ready for the ACT that they can take their junior year. We also usually ask them to do a career interest survey prior to our junior check-in with them, because then we want to talk to them about their individual surveys and their results to support them in their post-secondary planning. We also have a chance to talk about college fit. When we talk about college fit, that's really the criteria that we want students to reflect on about what's important to them. So whether that's research opportunities, studying abroad, double majoring, some colleges offer a chance for students to create their own major. Is it very important for them to be involved in college athletics or other important programs for music or drama or leadership roles in government? So we invite students to reflect on what's important to them in terms of location, size, cost, geographic regions, competitiveness, things that they're looking for in a college, advisories, support for academics, support for career advising. And those are factors that can come into play for our students when we support them in searching for that college process that they go through. We also use a tool in Naviance. It is called a super match, and will guide your students in identifying maybe 5 criteria and listing those in Naviance in the super match. And then the Naviance tool will build a list of colleges that your student may be interested in exploring. And so we'll work on that in January. When we have the small groups, keep in mind too that we're always available for your students individually. So some of the material can be delivered as a group, and they often have good conversations with their peers and learn from one another, but certainly we're also available individually to meet with your students. We don't want to forget you either, so we're meeting with our juniors in December and January, and we will meet again with our junior parent group, share information during the parent-teacher conferences in January on the 19th, and we'll have a presentation. Mr. Ebert certainly will be rolling out information about that, and you'll get information about where our presentation is at Homestead to talk to you about next steps, kind of in that second part of the junior year. What's next, exploring colleges and careers? What do campus visits look like? What if I need to retake the ACT? What does that look like? And certainly Navient student again. So I talked a little bit about post-secondary planning for courses. We'll roll that out at Homestead in January of 2023, and you'll receive communication from Principal Ebert, usually the first week of January. We really encourage our students to talk with their teachers, parents, family members, friends, counselors about the best courses for them for next year in terms of balance, in terms of rigor, in terms of interests, courses that are going to prepare them to reach their goals for post-secondary planning. Students will enter all of their course requests in Infinite Campus by January 31st. They have an academic planner tool in Infinite Campus where they can go by course in categories. So the English is first, and then their math area, science, social studies, and then other electives, business, the arts, world language, physical education, engineering, and so on. So they're able to select those courses and save them. They have the entire month of January to continue to have good conversations with their teachers, parents, counselors, to talk about what's going to be the best classes for them to take next year. We're able to support them in their academic and career planning in January. And we really try to encourage students to take things that they need to be taking to meet graduation requirements and get prepared for college, but also things that are manageable. We recognize sometimes that students, it's not healthy for our students to be taking too many honors or too many AP classes. And we just plant that seed now to just have those conversations start developing in terms of what is manageable when I'm in season for my sports, or when I am doing a theater production, or I'm in the orchestra. I am working a part-time job. Those are all really good questions to help shape a really healthy, meaningful, and manageable schedule for seniors next year. So the ACT updates and some information. Keep in mind that hundreds of colleges and universities across the country are still test optional. We're also learning that there's some new terms with the ACT. Some of them are also test flexible. There's a couple of schools too that are test blind. All the schools in California are going to test blind, which means that they are not even going to consider an ACT or an SAT score if submitted. But colleges and universities, like I said earlier, recognize that the strongest indicator if a student is going to be successful in college is that transcript, level of rigor, and then the grades earned in those courses. Many of our students are still, very successful in taking that ACT, and it really is a strong benefit for them in being very competitive at applying at some of the highly selective schools. And we're seeing that about half of our students are submitting ACT scores to colleges and universities. All of our juniors will take the ACT at Homestead on March 21st. It's a Tuesday. It's an official supervised ACT test. We'll help them in creating an ACT account, and then they will take that test. It's a standard official test at Homestead on that day. It's free. Our district pays for that because it's state mandated. They do not need to register for that one, but like I said earlier, sometimes our students do like to take one before that, and some like to take one after that. Most of our students probably take it a couple of times. If your student needs help with that, they can always stop in and see their counselor, but it's act.org. Pretty easy to navigate that website. Students and families can start checking emails in January. Homestead will be offering some test prep for the ACT. That's taught by our Homestead teachers in the areas of English, math, science. And information will roll out usually sometime in January or February by Mr. Ebert, and he will let students know about that opportunity to sign up for after-school sessions working with our teachers on types of questions, strategies, tips and tricks, reviewing some things. But we do offer that ACT in addition to Methodize, ACT prep in Navient. We will have some interactions with our teachers actually going through test prep with students at Homestead. So Navient Student is a really great resource. It's free. Every student has their own private portal. It's useful in several ways. One, exploring careers in college, and students can save information into colleges that I'm thinking about. They can do the super match tools and generate lists of colleges that could be interesting to them to explore. They offer student surveys and career inventories where students can gain information about their strengths, their interests, their passions that could also then lead into career pathways for them. There's also a section in Navient called What's New, and that's where all of the college admissions representatives who are visiting Homestead are listed there in a timeline. Students can always register for that and come on down to our counseling office and then learn more about that college and ask questions. In addition to that, that's where we house the scholarship list. It's under the college tab and it'll say scholarships and money. So when students click on that scholarship list, they'll have access to all live links for scholarships for them to apply to. We recognize that college is expensive and we support them first in the application process, next in helping them to navigate the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. That opens up every year on October 1st. So around this time next year, your students probably will think about starting those college applications in August, especially the essay, and then working on those applications individually and with counselors in September and October. And next step would be filling out the FAFSA with you to find out what your EFC is, which is your expected family contributions. And then from there, every college and university that your student is admitted to, after they're admitted, they also get what's called a financial aid award package. And that will help you understand where there could be some grants, which are gifts, you don't pay that back from a college. There could be some merit scholarships. Then there also could be some work study opportunities available and also some low interest government loans. It's all determined based on a factoring figure through the FAFSA of your EFC, your expected family contribution. So a lot of information is in Navient. In addition to that, senior year, we use Navient as a reliable way for us to send confidential documents. So right now we're using that tool to send letters of recommendation, school transcripts, school reports, our school profile. And it's a very convenient, confidential way for us to send documents to colleges and universities. College visits are probably the very best way for our students to kind of try on a college or get a feel for it. Try to visit colleges and universities when they are in session if you can, because students will get a real feel for the campus community and the culture and the classes if those colleges are in session. Usually students may start visiting colleges casually now if they're going on a trip or they're seeing a sibling or you happen to be passing through the town and check it out. And that's a great way to kind of combine, travel or family trips with checking out a college. But typically then, usually in the spring of junior year is when kids start to really take a look at some colleges, whether that's getting their feet on UW Milwaukee's campus and checking out Marquette and MSOE, great, or heading up to Green Bay and making a comparison between UW Green Bay and St. Norbert. Anytime they can do a comparison of any kind of school, they're going to have a better understanding of not only that college and university, but some things that are important to them, whether they're visiting UW-Madison or Washington University or University of Minnesota. Our job as counselors is trying to support every one of our students to find their perfect fit and their perfect match. We know there's great colleges and universities across the country, but it's really an important job for us to find a good fit for them, that it's matching their criteria. Size, location, obviously programs of study, the campus fit, the culture, all of those things when we talk about the feel and the fit of the campus. You always want to register online when you and your student may be taking a visit, and just look under, look up the college, and then you'll see a visit tab. You can click on that. You can pick dates. Sometimes they have programs, but you could select dates. And it's really okay to ask for what you want to see. So if a student is particularly interested in architecture, you can ask for that type of information. Same thing with like the arts or athletics, if that's important to see, the athletic complex or facilities. Ask for those opportunities when you're on campus. And we do encourage students, if they can, to sit in on academic classes or at least partial class to get a feel for what that academic arena looks like on that campus. Okay, I know I've shared a lot of information, but breathe. You are not alone in this process, and truly post-secondary planning is a process. We're here to help you every step of the way. And it's important to remember that, we're in October, the first trimester of your student's junior year. And if they are coming to school regularly, they are feeling good, getting good rest, asking for help, excited about some of their classes, they have some good friendships, they're involved in something positive, they're doing all the right things. I also want to reassure you, because sometimes families will ask me, like, am I behind? Did I miss something? Am I really behind in this process? You are not behind at all. You are right where you need to be right now today as parents and guardians caring for your children, and we're here to help you along the way. Encourage your students to stop in, check in with us, make appointments. They can easily do that by seeing Miss Brown. We also have a QR code at our front desk if they want to scan that with their phone, and then they can request an appointment with us. But it really is kind of 1 week at a time, and then looking at a trimester at a time. It's hard to believe that, November 1st is just around the corner. We're getting ready to submit, thousands of transcripts for students who are applying to college. And it will be your student this year, next year at this time, and they'll be ready one step at a time. But we do know that students thrive when they are feeling good and they are happy, healthy, engaged students. Research in psychology and our gut tells us that when kids are feeling competent, they're feeling connected, and they are feeling authentic to who they are at a place where real potential and real growth mindset and good things can happen. And so we want to be there with them to support them to be there. So just keep that in mind, one trimester at a time. I see there's a couple of things in the chat box. I'm wondering, I'm opening that right now. So the PSAT results are coming back now. So I'm not really sure about the PSAT results, if they're coming back now. Students just took that test, I think, let's see, last week or the week before. I know this week we had an ACT for seniors, like one more time for the seniors, but as soon as we get results, we'll get them to students and families. How do choose the small groups? Okay, great question. Thanks for asking about that. Name, pull them from the same class. So what we do, we want to maximize students' time in the classroom. So first of all, we take a look at who has a study hall first hour, who has a study hall second hour, third hour, fourth hour, and fifth hour. And so we're going to cluster those meetings for those kids and first take them out of a study hall if they have one. And that's when that would happen in December. So students that have a first hour study hall, that's going to be that small group that we're going to be meeting with on different days. I think there's 3 days that we meet with them. Then for second hour, third hour, fourth hour, and fifth hour. So that after that, if students do not have a study hall, it'll be on one of the days alphabetically ordered, that kind of a thing. So we'll probably meet with like A, B, C, D, E's 1 hour and so forth there. So it's important for our students to be in class as much as they can, but we also recognize that in order for us to deliver quality academic and career planning curriculum with your students, we need time. And so we try to take them, out of a study hall and they don't miss a class first. And if they need to, then we would do that for trimester 1. When will students and parents see the pre-ACT results? How similar is the pre-ACT to the actual ACT? Great questions. So those results are in. We have that document right now with the students' pre-ACT results. Every student in the next couple of weeks is going to receive their ACT score, pre-ACT score report. And with that, they'll get a letter talking about how to go forward from here. So what kind of preparation is available and how do I do that? And also some information from Mr. Ebert about opportunities that are going to be happening for our juniors to help them to get ready for the official test in March at Homestead. And it's very similar. What I mean by that is that it's similar in the types of questions. It's similar in the length of questions. And so a lot of that opportunity that we gave them, they are going to experience that again in March when they take the ACT. I'm looking at my little guide that I have right here. So we share this with them, but they just experienced this when they took that. The English test is 45 minutes and they have 75 questions. Math, 60 minutes, 60 questions. Reading, 35 minutes, 40 questions, and so on. So they just experienced that format. And so they're familiar to the types of questions that they're going to see on the ACT. And so there's an alignment there, as well as when students go into Methodize that we have, they are going to be able to see the content and the types of questions for English, math, reading, and science. In addition to that, in Methodize, in their own private portal, students have a chance to take 2 free practice tests. So they can take those and then go ahead and get their scores back. But they are going to get a score range when they get their pre-ACT back. And those are pretty accurate for what they predict for the ACT. I mistyped. I meant the pre-ACT. Okay. Yeah. Did I answer that? And let's see if there's any more in the box here. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you got them all.
Any other questions that somebody may have? I don't know what time it is. I don't have my clock near me, but I could answer a few if somebody has some.
It doesn't look like anything new is coming up or anyone's
I
raising
think
their hand.
Janet's trying to speak.
Okay.
I have to take
Okay.
myself off of mute. I'm curious if you have any suggestions for students who might be strong academically, but are on the shy and introverted side and reluctant to join any extracurriculars, and how, I know you said that the main thing colleges look at is the transcript, but there's always such a push for these extracurriculars, and just curious what suggestions you have.
Sure, it's a really good question. Thanks for asking it. So colleges will look at that transcript. That's the number one thing they'll look at. Next is probably the level of rigor that a student is willing to embrace. And then co-curricular activities. So it doesn't always have to be at Homestead. So maybe your student is more interested in doing volunteering in the community or service learning or projects like that, or having a job. The main thing colleges want to know is that if a student isn't in school, how are they spending their time? So if students are also, if they're working a part-time job or volunteering, that's important, meaningful work, and colleges want to know about that. In addition, I would say that if you look on the Homestead homepage and on the right-hand side, there's a section about student involvement and co-curriculars. I'm just thinking of a couple right now that students could get involved with, but don't necessarily have to be completely really like outgoing and extroverted. For example, like Mr. Schuler has a film club where students watch a movie periodically and then they contribute or have a discussion about it. But it's not mandatory that a student would be, like you have to contribute or you have to say, your thoughts on this. And so I would invite your student to take a look at that list, because there could be some ways for them to get involved that may seem less intimidating. For example, we have another group for social, emotional, and mental health called REACH. They meet once a month and they talk about ways to support each other in our school with having positive mental health. So sometimes they put up posters encouraging each other. They're a support group for each other. So sometimes it doesn't always have to be that you are, on a varsity sport or that you are in a major, fine arts program. There are some other clubs and organizations or activities that students can get involved with that maybe don't have to feel, quite so extroverted or outgoing like that. The other thing is junior year in the spring, we'll ask your students to talk to a teacher about one letter of recommendation to support their application. So that's another component. I would also say we're hearing from colleges and universities that the student essays, the main essay that they would write for the common application is becoming even more significantly important because some students are choosing to apply to a college test optional, which is great. It just means though that other areas then are going to be viewed stronger because you're taking away something to be evaluated. So the other things will be taken a look at a little bit stronger,
Sure.
as well as like the little supplemental questions. So you know what, I also would invite your student to stop in and see their counselor to go over that and maybe identify 2 or 3 activities that they could maybe get involved with. Best Buddies is another one that's really good. The Shift Club, Students Helping Impact Foster Teens, that is a group that tries to do an activity every trimester, just thinking outside of themselves and how can we help kids that are in foster care. For example, they collected backpacks and school supplies, and we delivered hundreds of those items at the start of the school year. And that was all Homestead students coming together, working together, collaborating, and then just doing something good for the community. You know, when COVID came, they said, what can we do? And they raised $600 in a bake sale and then bought several gift cards, like $10 each for foster kids to go to McDonald's. And so there are ways of getting involved without having to be like the president of student council.
That's
Okay.
wonderful.
Thank you.
You bet.
That's wonderful, Sarah. I noticed that there's one more question in the chat box. How much weight does the merit award have on college applications?
Yeah, good question. It's hard for us to tell exactly the weight. There again, you know, if that's something meaningful and manageable for students to do, because it's like, well, you're already in some sports, you involve in some clubs, a couple of other things, 10 hours of volunteering, I think, or service. It is a nice way for students to show that they are, you know, a student and then also doing something, you know, service oriented for the merit award for community. But it's difficult for us to identify like how much weight that is. We can tell you that, you know, really the strongest thing is the transcript. And if a student is submitting an ACT score, you know, that would be up there too. The level of rigor and the consistency of courses. So what I mean by the consistency is how did they grow? If I want to take PLTW classes, how did I grow and evolve by taking a few more? Or if I started with Spanish 1, how did I progress through that? You know, am I at level 4? Did I take level 3? You know, am I at the AP level? Things like that. Recommendations, co-curriculars, their essay is very important, as well as a couple of the supplemental essays are also important, where students are asked to speak why they want to go to that particular college and why do you feel so called to study, you know, what your major is, anatomy for, let's say, physical therapy or business. Why do you want to study that? And so those are becoming important factors for students. But if students can fill out the merit award, and sometimes they're already doing some of those activities, it may be just a little nudge for them to also get involved, to do some community service. There is a tab on the Homestead homepage on the right side under the student involvement for student volunteer. And you can click on that and it will give students and families lots of information about ways that they could volunteer, whether it's at a basketball game or concession stand or at the Oreo Lane or, you know, Donjas Bay Carnival or whatever they might have going on.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. This
Welcome.
has just been a ton of wonderful information. Matt, I'll turn it over to you. Unfortunately, we just have a few minutes left.
That's okay. I wasn't planning on speaking very long. Sarah did a fantastic job there with a lot of valuable information. So thank you, Sarah, for that. I just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself because I'm still considered the new guy around Homestead, being that I just started in August. So I am getting to learn a lot of names and new people. It's a big school, so I am learning. I'm trying to learn a couple new names every day. So if I haven't had a chance to meet your son or daughter, I certainly hope to do that within the next, hopefully by this end of the school year. But I also want you to know that I'm a resource for you. If there's any questions that come up, please feel free to reach out. You can call, you can email. If I don't know the answer, and I will be honest, say I don't always know the answer yet, but I am learning something new every day. And I promise you that if I don't have the immediate answer, I will find that for you. But please know that I'm here and am willing to help in any way I can with your son or daughter.
Great. Thank you so much.
And welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think this ends this meeting, and please join us for our regular PTSO meeting starting at 7:30. There is a link there's a link in short kilts for that as well. So we will see you there. And Sarah and Matt, again, thank you very much. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.